What is going on, everybody? Voidlego here, back with a brand new episode of Higurashi When They Cry. Last time on, it was the day after we murdered Satoko's uncle, and after which we saw some signs. Actually, no, the main group of girls told us that we went to the festival, even though we didn't, and so we talked to the doctor, also known as what was his name again? Keep forgetting names. We went to talk to him about it, and he didn't believe us, and he wanted to sedate us and all of that to lock us up and whatever. We went up, tried to find the body. The body's gone. The body's completely gone. So now the question is, did Kechi actually murder Satoko's uncle, or did he just make it up in his head? Or did he actually did kill Satoko's uncle, and somehow the town is covering it up, or this mysterious director person covered it up for him for some reason? But no, it has to be the latter since the bat was gone. But the bat was originally at the construction, so like, I don't know. I have no idea. Could be either or, really. Curly cost. So let's just get right into it. Okayama Police Station Command Center transmission recording. June 20th, 8:08 p.m.
こちら沖宮 PS 感度良好です。
車両ナンバー紹介をお願いします。獅子骨歯の4344。
副将獅子骨歯の4344。少々お時間もらえますがよろしいですか？
Also, there's going to be a long one from what I've heard, so strap in, fellas.
お願いします。
Number match. Shishiborn H4344. Owner. Address Himizawa Village, Shishiborn. Vehicle make and model. Left reports none. Special mentions nothing of note.
沖宮 PS より大石社どうぞ。先ほどのナンバーが判明しました。大石社どうぞ。大石社応答願います。あれ？電波悪いのかな。大石社応答願出ませんね。
大石さんが車両紹介？誰の車だよ。
村人の車ですね。至って平凡な。
That's interesting.
何者だよ。大石さんが聞いてくるからにはただ者じゃないんだろ。
突起事項欄は完全に空欄ですね。S 号指定もなし。減点もなしだし。
パッシングでもされて腹が立ったんじゃないの？あの人根に持つとなかなか忘れないタイプなんだよ。
Okay, that was weird. Oh, she wanted a check on a license plate. Okay. Record of malice. Oh boy. What is this? He said it smelled. He said the food smelled. He said it smelled because I smelled. He said I smelled because I don't take baths. He said to take a bath 3 times a day because I was a smelly person. He said I had to stay in the bath for a long time every time. He must be possessed by something too. This is the same thing the man who died said. Why does he know what that man said before? That much is obvious. The same thing that possessed that man is now possessing him. Can a sudden earthquake make a big hole in front of the house? If it did, he would definitely go and look into it. And then I just have to push him in. I won't give in until I get that chance. I won't give in. I won't cry. I won't give in. I won't cry. Ah, someone is apologizing again. I'm going to just wild guess, that was Satoko's inner thoughts. But it really could be anyone, really. Satoko is the one that just makes the most sense, but it really could have been anyone else. So what the hell does that mean? Well, let's just continue. Wait, I can't do any more theorizing. We just have to go. The body wasn't there. The police didn't arrest me because of that, but I didn't know whether to feel happy about it. Just like Satoko had said, I'd failed to kill her uncle. The body wasn't there, so I was forced to conclude as much, no matter what strange natural disaster, coincidence, or miracle it might have implied. In order to free Satoko, I became a demon. And this abnormal world was my reward. Yes, metaphorically, I had fallen into the demon world. But if that price had been in exchange for the life of Satoko's uncle, then that would have been fine. Since Satoko's uncle was still alive, still shackling her to him, I needed to become a demon once again. One more time. No, as many times as it took. I would kill that man over and over again until Satoko was liberated. I had already awoken. I looked at the clock to see that it was early in the morning, at just about 5. It was already right outside. Once I had hardened my resolve to become a demon again, I could feel my whole body teeming with the awakened power once more. Time wasn't an issue. No matter what, I'd do it. I got myself up. The exhaustion from the past 2 days was completely swept away, and I didn't even feel sleepy anymore either. I slowly rose and made sure my body was moving like I wanted it to. I could feel blood flowing through each and every one of my fingers. As I got dressed, I let my mind wander and had a strange thought. These 2 days, well, I've said it was Satoko's sake. The only thing on my mind has been killing. I've said it was for Satoko, but while actually carrying out the act, I had completely forgotten about Satoko, albeit only temporarily. Maybe initially it was for Satoko's sake, but now I was just a demon, killing for the sake of killing, and as a result I sunk into a world fit for such a demon. Maybe it was the same for Satoshi. He resolved himself to kill his aunt to save Satoko, became a demon, then disappeared from the sunlit Himizawa, vanishing into the demon world. Which meant that, after all was said and done, I had met the same fate as him. I tried to avoid making the same mistakes, but it happened anyway. Which meant that maybe Satoshi was here. Satoshi had come to this world a year before me, so he would be here somewhere. Then, surprised, I stopped walking. There was a second set of footsteps I'd grown so used to hearing.
お前、ひょっとして、サトシなのか?
The empty, lifeless air wouldn't give me an answer, but I felt a strange kind of relief that there was someone there, that Satoshi had stuck with me the whole time. Let's go, Satoshi. Once more. This time we will set Satoko free for sure. I quietly slipped out of the house so my parents wouldn't notice. If they called me now, then when I'd been out way too late for 2 days now, they'd give me a real angry talking to. I didn't have the time to allow for that to happen. Today I would put an end to it. If the dead body disappeared, then I didn't have to bury it. I could just burn it to ashes and then take them with me so I could kill him again every time he resurrected. I'd do it again. I'd kill him again. And this time I'd set her free. Outside, the morning light was so beautiful as to stagger belief. I went to the storage room to find weapons with which I could kill him for sure. Blunt or not, it didn't matter to me. Right now I didn't need to care whether someone saw or if the police came. This world had gone crazy after all. A world where I'd shown up at the festival and had fun even though I wasn't there. Even if the police arrested me, I'd probably end up going right back home as if nothing had happened. Both me and that other Kechi Marubara. Even without me, he'd fill in. I could vanish from Himizawa without anyone noticing. So basically, I didn't care if I was mistakenly killed. Even if I died, Kechi Marubara would remain. After all, this isn't the world I belong in. If I was going to be killed mistakenly for Satoko's sake, then that was just part of my duty as her Nini. As those desperate thoughts became serious, the morning air felt more refreshing to me, strangely enough.
これは怖いな。こいつにするか?
It was a hatchet meant for chopping thick firewood. Its hefty steel blade was sinister, almost as though it was a tool meant for killing people. I couldn't exactly take it out in public like that, so I wrapped it a little in some old newspaper and tossed it into a basket on my bike.
連日悪い用事に使ってばかりで悪いな。今日も頼むぜ。俺の足。
I apologized to my bike for some reason. For the past 3 days, I've only used it for dangerous things. I've been riding this bike ever since I lived in my own town, Old Town. It could walk most places I wanted to go, so I didn't use it all that much. My mom had bought it for me when I entered cram school, thinking it would be a convenient way to get to the station since it was far away. So I'd always used it to get back and forth from cram school. I'd only ever put textbooks and class materials in the front basket too. I never tried to put a hatchet that I'd be using to kill someone in there. When I came to Himizawa, life finally felt fun. I met the best friends ever and had some of the greatest times ever. Those times might have been shattered now, but it was my greatest wish that I could get them back, even if I had to risk my life to do it. That's how fun those times had been. I killed someone, and now I was at it again, needing to kill someone. Murder was a crime. I didn't believe that people should ever think murder was okay. But still, the times I'd had were enjoyable enough for me to commit such a crime. My friends were irreplaceable, and the time I spent with them was a treasure. Hanging out, laughing, sometimes tricking each other, but always in a friendly way. I didn't fear committing any crime as long as it was for the sake of taking back those times that gave my heart so much pleasure. Yes, this was a value I decided to uphold. It wasn't something I learned from a school teacher. It was a noble path I chose for myself. I thought back to when I first came to Himizawa. About how on the very first day, Satoko had welcomed me via a blackboard eraser with a lock in it. That welcome really surprised the heck out of me. She would laugh, get angry, cry. She was never boring. She was obviously the most childlike one among us, but she was actually lively, full of vim and vigor, and good at meddling in other people's businesses. That went for Mion, Lena, and Rika-chan too. Wasn't Satoko the one at the center of everyone's laughing and banter? Satoko would try to look cool. And Mion would make fun of her endlessly. Then Satoko would cry, which would put Lena in a state of ecstasy. Rika-chan would be greatly delighted. And I happened to get mixed up in it. We would always fool around like that. It was lonely when someone wasn't around, but if I had to name one for whom it was the worst, it would have been Satoko. Her smile was everyone's smile. Ever since she stopped smiling, so did the rest of us. For the rest of us, not smiling was the same as dying. It was just like when I was suddenly going to cram school every day just to maintain my unchanging test scores. So basically, we were nothing when she wasn't smiling. She was full of hot air, but she was our princess, cute and unhateable. In that case, I was her knight, searching for the dragon's castle in order to win her smile back.
ナイトなら武器は剣だろ。ツーハンデッドのかっこいいやつ。錆びた肉厚のナタで挑むナイトは多分古今東西俺一人だな。
Then I saw an old person on the ridge of a field waving to me.
おや圭一くんかい。朝のサイクリングかいね。
おはようございます。
I reflexively waved back in a refreshing way. Should I really have been feeling so happy, waving like that? Satoko's house would be right past this road, going beyond the rice paddles. The cicadas had woken up too, and the next thing I knew, I was the audience to their daily chorus. I gave myself a hit or two in the head and drove away my merry morning mood. I took a deep breath and tilted my head back, quelling my pointless excitement. I really like how this chapter really does a fantastic job at justifying why Kechi is murdering Sadako's uncle. Like it does a the writing in this chapter is fantastic. Like so far in the past two chapters, writing has been great, but this chapter it is fantastic. Like truly, just great writing all around. The body wasn't there. Its absence either meant my killing him had been an illusion, or that I'd killed him, and he'd risen from the dead. If I was at the festival, then maybe I should have considered it an illusion. Coach probably thought that way, which is why he treated me like a lunatic. But it being an illusion was just impossible. I killed him, without a doubt. Without a doubt. If that had been an illusion, then that would make all this Himizawa I was in right now an illusion. If that was the case, then here's how it would end up. I was actually in a vegetative state due to a traffic accident, and I was currently dreaming in a hospital bed about how great it would be to spend time with friends in wise paddles like these. That was a terrifying thought, though. If this wasn't an illusion, then the only possible answer was that he'd resurrected. It would make him a little monster. But if he was such a monster, then I was no less than a monster myself. I didn't hesitate to kill someone, and could even wield curses. Takano-san had died probably because I cursed her. Or maybe that was a little much. Coach Inoshi died too, then like I cursed them too yesterday, then I believe it. I set my bicycle aside and went to take a look. Can't believe it, Willie. Dang, the writer really mentioned the whole old coma theory present in literally every type of fiction. Like literally, for every like TV show, book, comic, whatever, there's always that one theory of like, obviously the main character's in a coma, and he's imagining all this stuff, which I've always thought is just a lame theory. It's just so stupid, you know? Okay, cool, main character's in a coma, so what? His motorbike wasn't here. Of course it wasn't. I sent it down to hell that night, throwing it into the Onegafuchi swamp. Or maybe, just like how the corpse wasn't here, maybe the motorbike didn't get thrown into the swamp either. The fact that his bike wasn't here might have been because he had gone to town and hadn't come back, not necessarily because I'd thrown it into the swamp. If her uncle wasn't around, then that was convenient on its own. Then I would just show myself in, then wait for him to return, sharpening my hatchet. If he was there. Forgotten sensations came back to my gut. Feeling of tension rose within me. The sensation was like poison dulling my actions, but it could also be the trigger to allow me to awaken to my superhuman otherworldly self. I held the hatchet, still wrapped in newspaper. Its weight in my hands was profound, sinister, and reliable. I hadn't put on my watch, so I didn't know what time it was, but it was probably still a little bit before 7. Satoko would probably be awake, preparing breakfast and her lunch. But her uncle would probably still be lazing around in bed. A guy like him probably would have stayed up late drinking and probably always slept until noon. I considered ringing the doorbell and having Satoko open the door for me, but if her uncle woke up at the sound, I'd waste my chance of him still being asleep. If Sadako saw me sneaking inside without ringing the doorbell, she'd be surprised. If I went into her, what would I say? I've come to kill your uncle for you, so stay quiet. No, I couldn't do that. That would be like making Sadako responsible for his death. Be quiet and go wait outside. Maybe that would do it. How would Sadako react to that? She would probably try and get me to give up on killing him. I would have to lie somehow to get her to go outside. Sadako didn't need to know that a murder was going to occur in this house. I couldn't quite think of a good why to tell her, but I couldn't do much just standing around like this. I made up my mind and grabbed the doorknob. Then slowly turned it and pulled. It wasn't locked. The gap between the door and the wall suddenly grew larger. The chain wasn't even on. The oppressive smell of life in Satoko's house hit me. At the entrance, there was a few pairs of shoes and sandals. I couldn't tell whether he was here or not just by looking at them. I could hear a television on somewhere. Oh, Jesus. Television was in the messy dining room. There was food scattered about the table, giving an impression decidedly different from a happy family's mealtime. Meals were for eating food while thanking the person for making it, meaning whatever occurred in this dining room wasn't a meal. Nobody in sight. No sign of anyone either. But with the television on, he must have been close. Could he have anticipated my coming and be hiding, waiting for me? The tension I felt was so thick, so tight that I thought it would choke me. The newspaper wrapping the hatchet's thick blade didn't hamper its power at all. I tightened my grip on it, then, very carefully, took a look around. Where had those peaceful feelings from before I arrived here gone? Even the sound of sweat bubbling up on my brow got on my nerves. And then I looked at the table and realized something. This wasn't breakfast. The grains of boiled rice were all hard and dried up. Then, was it last night's dinner? I left the dining room, keeping vigilant, went down the hallway and found the stairs to the second floor. When that man was playing with his friends, he looked out of a second-story window. It was highly possible that room was his own and that he slept there. I tiptoed up the edges of the stairs, quietly climbing, without making a sound. I couldn't hear any kind of snoring. I didn't hear anything up there. I went through a few rooms, slowly and quietly opening the paper doors, checking inside. But I still couldn't find anyone around. To search more efficiently, I got down on the floor and pressed my ear right up to it. I could hear the television in the dining room and a low hum, perhaps of boiling water. It was then that I started to harbor some feelings of suspicion. This house wasn't right. It seemed like people had been here since the TV was on, but it wasn't normal for nobody to be around this early in the morning. I silently descended the stairs and went back into the dining room. I looked at the food scattered about. Completely dried up rice, an overturned bowl of miso soup, the package for a side dish bought at the supermarket. I could tell Satoko had definitely been the one who made this. The food was far from Mion's perfection or Rena's gentleness, but it was sincere. Judging by how she cooked for me in my house and from the type and amount of side dishes, I deduced the meal was from last night. The numbers stamped into the food package read 830620, June 20th, 1983. That was yesterday. And there was food for two, which meant that this was last night's dinner and Satoko's uncle would have been here by then. Stop it, Kochi. Don't even think about saying the word impossible again. Anyway, her uncle was here last night. That much was the truth. He had found fault with Satoko's food, from the bowl of miso soup, and flung the rest everywhere. And deep within my feelings of calm and composure was wit, a flame of anger and a curse. Should I have ever shown this man any mercy? Bump. I heard a sound again, the one from before, like a water boiler. Where was it coming from? The first floor? But where? The bathroom, maybe? Could hear that noise coming from the other side of the frosted grass at the far end of the changing room. It had to have been the sound of the water boiler for the bath. Steam was enshrouding the glass door, and the heat from it was leaking into the changing room where I was standing too. My misgivings deepened. People didn't normally take a bath this early in the morning. If one did, then it would mean that in this house time had been stopped ever since some moment last night. Whistle, whistle, whistle. Was it being reheated? The water boiler in the bathroom had been active this whole time. I checked in the clothing basket and saw Satoko's familiar uniform stuffed in it. The uniform had stains and dried rice stuck to it, clearly not something she could wear today. It was probably from the miso soup at the dinner table yesterday. I looked hard at the frosted glass, but I couldn't see anything through all the steam. And then an electrical surge ran through my mind and a terrible premonition came over me. Could she? She couldn't possibly have been in there since last night. That would be impossible. But no. In this hour right now, nothing was impossible. Oh, shit. I gulped audibly, then quietly pulled aside the glass door. Hot, steaming air burst out of the slight opening. The fan wasn't on in the changing room, so it went completely white with the steam. Jesus. Just as the hot vapor poured into the changing room, cooled air also flowed into the room with the bath. And I just heard, due to being hit by that air, a very weak moan. Oh shit. That was all I needed to know who it was.
Satoko!
No answer. Satoko was in the bathtub, surrounded by a thick layer of rising steam. What the fuck? The top half of her body was leaning over the edge of the tub, and she was passed out. The water boiler kept on making a whistling noise as if angered. I could see the gas flame through a small window. It was roaring at full force, completely blue. Satoko's entire body was boiled, red, and flaccid as though her bones had melted away. She was almost like a doll as she laid there unconscious. I wasn't sure how many seconds passed as I stared in complete bafflement. I came back to my senses and probably shut off the boiler. Then I dragged Satoko's small body out of the bathtub. The water in it was as hot as the water in public baths. Was she in this boiling water for the entire night? She'll die! She'll die! Satoko's body was wider than expected as I laid her on the floor and wrapped her in a towel. I went back into the bathroom and opened up the vent, creating a path for a cool breeze to come through. Upon the breeze hitting her, Satoko moaned again.
大丈夫かSatoko! 俺だケイイチだわかるか聞こえるか
Satoko recognized me and muttered a response, but I couldn't really tell what she was saying. Her eyes were muddy and unfocused. I could tell she wasn't completely conscious. Upon closer inspection, her limbs and waist were twitching sideways. This was way worse than normal overheating. This was dangerous. Didn't they call this heat stroke? Think, what would a teacher do if a girl passed out in the middle of summer during a marathon in gym class or something? I turned the water faucet in the kitchen all the way on, soaked a towel in it, and then took the cold towel and pressed it to Satoko's forehead. Satoko reacted harshly to the coldness and let out a muffled voice. For burns, right, he would soak the burn spot under running water. Then, could I have one cold water in the shower and cool her off like that? No, if it was that sudden, it wouldn't be good for her heart, and she'd go into shock. I think I read that once before. This was about as much nursing as I could possibly give her. Anything more than this would be too much for the likes of an amateur.
大丈夫かSatokoもう大丈夫だからな必ず俺がニーニーが助けてやるからな5039 5040
What was Satoko reciting under her breath? I brought my ear to her mouth to better make out the mysterious spell-like words, and she kept saying, and at that moment, I understood what they were for.
Satoko, お前数を数えてるのかなんで
People tell little kids in the bath to count to 100 a lot, right? Satoko was counting like that. But 5,039?
バカ野郎お前の家の風呂はいくつ数える決まりになってんだよ
I doubted my ears and doubted her common sense. 10,000?
ふざけるなバカ野郎1万なんて数えられるバカがどこにいるんだよ数えられるわけねえだろその前にユダって死んじまうに決まってんだろどうしてこんなことに
Man, fuck this uncle, dude. Like, fuck this uncle. Like, fuck him. I already fucking hated this guy, but fuck him, dude. Last night, her uncle flew into a rage at the dinner she'd made, saying it stunk and was inedible. Satoko didn't understand what on earth he meant. It wasn't much different than what she usually made for him. Maybe he hated the smell of the pickled vegetables she bought in particular. Her uncle then decided the stink was originating from Satoko and shouted at her that she never ever took baths. Yep, that tip from before was from Satoko's point of view. And then he put Satoko in the boiling water and told her not to come out until she counted 2. I snapped and exploded. Raising the newspaper-wrapped hatchet, I stamped through the house. I searched for anything, traces, signs, smells, vibrations, heartbeats. With a war cry, I raced up the stairs with such force I could have stomped a hole through them. Then I found the futon in the room I thought to be her uncle's, and where he wasn't sweeping in it, I bashed it with the hatchet. Did he run into the closet? I burst the entire closet down, door and all. And if he's not there, maybe there's a secret door. Any switches or levers in the walls here? I smashed into wall after wall with the hatchet, crushing them. Dust rose into the air and broken pieces scattered about the floor. I smashed all the glass windows too for good measure. After I'd destroyed everything beyond recognition in her uncle's room, my reason finally kicked in and suppressed my emotions. Anyway, her uncle wasn't in the house right now. I'd have to leave killing him until later. Right now, I had to do something about Satoko. I went back to the changing room. Satoko was still lying limp on the floor. There was nothing more an amateur like me could do for her. I needed to take her to the clinic. Coach had treated me like a lunatic yesterday and tried to lock me up in the mental hospital. I never wanted to see his damn face again, but I still needed to go to the infirmary one more time. I needed to have a doctor look at Satoko. I thought about putting her in the dirty uniform lying in the laundry basket, but I had no experience dressing someone, so it would be pretty difficult. Shit, I don't have time to be wasting here. I eventually gave up on clothing her and decided to carry her in the bath towel. The clinic was close to Satoko's house. It would be way faster to carry there than to call 119 and then get an ambulance. I threw the biggest towel I could find over her and prompted her to stand.
立てるか。俺が診療所までおぶって行ってやるから。
ありがとう。ですわ。
Her words sounded clearer than before. She was starting to come back. I cried tears of relief just knowing she'd improved even a little bit. Satoko turned over so she was lying on her face and then put up a weak struggle to get on a knee. I smoothly swept her up and put her on my back. The towel I put on her seemed like it was about to fall off.
バスタオル痛い。
すぐ着くから。しばらくの間だけ我慢してろ。
Didn't hurt one bit to carry Satoko. She was white. Too white. Jesus. The whiteness actually made me uneasy. Outside, it had gotten hotter as though eager to attack Satoko. Fucking cicadas. Why did I have to choose this morning to get so hot out? I didn't have time to swear at them. The clinic was this way. Hoisting Satoko on my back, I broke into a trot. Jesus. Fuck, man. Fucking... Could you imagine being fucking boiling water for almost an entire night? That at least has to give you like 3rd-degree fucking burns. And it was all over her fucking body. The hilly road to the clinic, with which I had never had difficulties before, was now torturous. Big beds of sweat formed on her brow, and at some point my breath had grown faint. The hatchet in my belt was heavy and made it hard to walk. I considered leaving it, but I couldn't let it go, at least not while Satoko's uncle was still breathing. The signboard for the Irie clinic came into sight, but I quickly noticed something was odd, so I stopped. Several red revolving lights were flashing at the clinic. 3 police cars were parked in a parking lot with their lights on. There didn't need to be much else to inform me something had happened. I didn't want to see Coach, so I had planned to leave Satoko in the clinic reading room and give her the receptionist a message. But with that police officer Oshi here, I couldn't go inside so carelessly.
なんですの？パトカーがいっぱいいますですわよ。
I gently put Satoko down in the shade of the thicket.
わからない。様子を見てくるからしばらくここにいろ。
レディをバスタオル1枚でこんなとこに置いてくなんてなってませんわね。
それだけ悪態がつけりゃ大丈夫だ。
I'll be right back, I added, getting to my feet. Cautious of my surroundings, I hid myself behind a car and got closer to the officers grouped at the clinic's entrance. I overheard an officer wearing a necktie and probably their reader and a white-robed doctor having a discussion about something. The doctor didn't seem to be Coach. He was one of those who Coach told to make the tea yesterday.
じゃあつまり最初に見つけたのは朝当番のあなただったと。
First one to find it.
それでどんな感じだったんです？
事務室の所長席のソファーに座って居眠りをしているように見えました。
What?
で机の上に水差しと空き瓶になった睡眠薬があったんで、あなたはすぐに睡眠薬で自殺したんだと考えたと。それで
高熱と瞳孔の拡大に重度の意識障害も見られました。睡眠薬中毒の典型的な重症例だと思いましたので、直ちに対応に入りました。
警察も救急も呼ばずに？
ここは病院で私は医師ですよ。生命が危険な状態にあるなら直ちに治療して当然です。
ああ、まあいいからいいから。それで
呼吸が不正常だったので人工呼吸を施しました。合わせて呼吸刺激薬を投与。効果が出なかったので人工呼吸器の準備をし。
ああ、はいはい。それでつまりいろいろ頑張ったけど結局ダメだったと。そういうわけですよね。通報は死んでから直ちに？
はい。救うことができずとても残念です。
Save who? Just then, a radio in one of the police cars started to buzz, producing a broken mechanical voice.
こちら本部、こちら本部。小宮山さん、聞こえますか？どうぞ。
もしもし、小宮山です。ああ、お疲れ様です。睡眠薬での自殺みたいですね。
Committed suicide.
遺書の類はなし。
Who? Suicide? What the heck were they talking about? Someone had committed suicide at the clinic. But who? I wish Takano sent dead, and she died the next day. And yesterday I wished Coach was dead. No fucking way. Then, could he have...
普段から睡眠薬を常用していたとかは？
あまり知りません。
日頃疲れたとか死にたいとかそんなこと言ってました？
入江先生は普段からああいう性格でしたから。
What the fuck is happening? What? No, did the fucking tip we saw of the HQ trying to recontact with Oshi, but they couldn't get in contact with... What the fuck is happening?
とてもそんな風には。
So, I was right. Irie sensei, they were talking about Coach. Coach killed himself. Why would he do that? There couldn't have been any reason he wanted to die. The only reason that came to mind was that I wanted him dead. This world was insane. If I wanted someone dead, they'd die. That was the kind of world this was. Then, what about Oshi? What happened to him? If people really died because I wanted them to, then something should have happened to him too.
そちらに応援が向かいました。課長からそちらは応援に任せて大石社の捜索に戻るとのことです。
Oshi's car is missing?
了解しました。じゃあすいません。こっちに今応援が来てるそうですから現場はこのままにしておいてください。
There has... What? How the fuck is this happening? Everyone that Kechi wants to be dead dies, except for Satoko's uncle? Actually, I haven't seen any signs of him. Well, his body wasn't in the place we buried him at. So where the fuck is Satoko's uncle? So, what is causing this? What? I'm trying to think of a logical reason to all of this. but I can't. I can't, literally can't fathom a reason.
おい、行くぞ。
The officers nodded and split up into the patrol cars. Did they just say searching for Ushi's car? Searching for his car. That meant he had gone missing? Takano-san, Coach, and Oshi. When I wished for it, the very next day, they disappeared. No matter how angry you were when you said you wished someone was dead, it didn't normally happen. Everyone knew just wishing for it wouldn't make them dead, and that's why people could utter such curses so lightly. But the curses I uttered were being granted. At the time, I hadn't even begun walking, and yet, tap, I heard a footstep. What is these fucking footsteps too? And it wasn't only one this time. Tap, tap, they came from behind. And they stood right behind me, reaching a hand for my shoulder.
一体何事なんですの？
サトコか。脅かすなよ。
驚いたのはこっちでしてよ。いきなり大声を出さないでくださいまし。
It was Satoko. Her eyes were still unstable and focused, but she seemed able to at least walk on her own now. She looked far better now compared to her earlier exhausted state.
具合はどうなんだ？もう大丈夫なのか？
まだ頭が痛いですけど、いつまでもこんな格好で表にいられませんもの。
She gave a smile, a show of courage, but her legs were still shaky.
それより、これは一体何事なんですの？今、警察が話してるのを聞いてた限りじゃ。
監督が自殺したらしい。
え？
Satoko was at a loss for words. Her face grew paler and paler, and I could tell she was doubting her own ears.
ケイチさん、それ、本当ですの？何かの聞き間違いじゃないんですの？
確かにそう聞いたよ。入江先生が睡眠薬で自殺したって。
Satoko went down on her knees and broke out into tears.
嘘ですわ。監督が自殺なんて、そんなの絶対に。
As I watched Satoko crying and clawing at the glass, I found myself trapped by guilt and remorse. I got so angry that Coach was treating me like a madman yesterday, that he betrayed me, that I thought he'd be better off dead. But even Coach, who to me deserved to die, still must have had people who loved and respected him, like Satoko here. In my selfish, egotistical anger, I wished for his death and was granted. And now Satoko's crying hysterically as a result. The guilt tore at my heart. I worked myself up to murder for Satoko's sake. I decided I wanted Satoko to be happy. But was that really all it took? Murder meant taking someone's life. It meant making everyone attached to that person sad. In Satoko's uncle's case, of course, nobody would be sad, so I didn't feel a sense of guilt at all. But Coach's death was different. I had wanted to make Satoko happy, and that had resulted in me inflicting a deep sadness upon her, hadn't it? But Coach killed himself. It wasn't my... Satoko still hadn't stopped crying, but she seemed to be a little calmer now. Wiping her tears, she stood up.
すまない。
And the only things I could think of to say to her was an apology.
どうして謝りますの？
俺、昨日監督と喧嘩して、お前なんか 死んじまえって呪ったんだ。呪ったから本当に死んじゃって。
Satoko looked at me dubiously for a few moments. Eventually, her expression softened as she interpreted my words in her own way.
圭一さんのせいではありませんわ。監督も大人ですもの。自分の命を捨てるに値する都合があって悩んだ末に選んだんですもの。誰のせいでもありませんわ。
She smiled a little, trying to comfort me.
いつまでもこのままでいたくありませんわ。服が欲しい。
いいのかよ。診療所に行って見てもらった方が。
服を着てから見てもらっても別に死にはしませんわ。
Satoko readjusted her bath towel and started back along the path. Her stride was wobbly and didn't look like she would cover as much as she went on. Still trying to be the courageous woman she is. At first, Satoko tried to go back home, but it was a time of morning when people were going to school and to work, so after seeing people walk around, she thought better of it. She must have been pretty embarrassed wearing only a towel.
リカの家に行きますわよ。私の服あるはずですから。どうしたんですの、圭一さん。
Satoko noticed how I was hanging my head and spoke to me.
監督はああ見えても大人ですのよ。圭一さんと喧嘩したくらいで自殺するような人ではありませんわ。自分を責めるのをおやしなさいませ。
At first I thought it was a coincidence, but with 3 people now, I couldn't disregard the possibility. There was no such thing as impossible in this world.
この数日おかしいんだ。
You know what? It really could be a bunch of coincidences. It is, at least in the US, there is a high number of suicides in the doctor field, in the medical field, which, you know, with the amount of things doctors, nurses, medics, you know, have to see throughout their career, it would make sense that it would get to people, and, you know, some people would just feel like that suicide is the only way out. It really could be a coincidence. It really could be. All these could just be coincidences. Hell, maybe Oshi's gone missing because the Sotozaki clan wants him to be taken care of. Maybe it's all just a coincidence, and that Kechi is just merely trying to fill in these blank spaces with his own logic that he wants. I feel like Kechi wants this guilt, kind of, you know. He wants this guilt. He wants to be guilty for this type of thing, or something like that. Like, he wants to be punished. Just maybe something like that. But he's trying to connect these other incidences to himself, in which it really can be that maybe Kechi wishing for these people dead really does kill them, or maybe it's just a big coincidence. But this still doesn't explain why someone known as Kechimaru still went to the festival, and doesn't explain where the body went. Or, you know, that could have been an illusion. It really could have been just a daydream Kechi thought of, and he actually did went to the festival. Maybe during the festival, he thought up that whole thing, and because his mind wanted Satoko's uncle so dead, he thought it to be reality. It really could be that. It really could be that Kechi has been trapped within his own mind. In this world he's in right now, it isn't an insane world or a demon world or whatever. It's reality. It's what reality truly is. A bunch of chaotic events happening in succession that we try to make sense of as human beings. We try to put connections here and there, even though it's reality, it's the universe. There's nothing we can do to control it. We can't even predict the damn weather by next week, you know? So, that turned into a rant about just the unlawfulness of the universe. But hey, you know, this game is so good, it drives me to talk about shit like that, huh?
何がですの？
Satoko seemed to be having trouble breathing, but she still tried to listen to what I had to say.
おとといの綿流しのお祭り、お前は途中で帰ったから行かなかったんだよな。そして俺は祭りに行ってみんなと遊んだ。
らしいですわね。あの時は取り乱して申し訳ありませんでしたわね。
Satoko remembered how she blew up at me in the classroom yesterday and bowed to me a little.
実は俺、祭りに行っていないって言ったら信じるか？
Satoko looked at me confused. She couldn't help it, of course.
信じられるわけありませんわ。何を今さら。
信じられないだろ。信じられないのは俺だって。俺は祭りに行っていないのに、俺が祭りに現れてみんなと遊んだって言うんだ。こんなの信じられるわけないだろ。
それ本気ですの？
ああ、あの綿流しの夜からおかしいんだ。いつの間にか変な足音がペタペタとついてくるようになって。
Footsteps could just be a manifestations of his guilt of committing the murder of Satoshi, Satoko's uncle. Even though he keeps saying in his mind that he doesn't feel remorse for it, it still comes out in certain ways. You know, perfect example would be A Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe. You know, I keep hearing the heart beating in the floorboards, you know, and at the end of the story, he whips up the floorboards, trying to get rid of the heart, even though the heart was never there to begin with. Same thing with these footsteps. The blood drained from Satoko's expression.
足音がペタペタ。
そうなんだ。最初は気のせいだと思ってたけど、ずっとついてくるんだ。多分今もついてきてる。里子の足音と混じってよく聞き分けられないけれど。
Satoko took a long and hard look at me. Maybe she was doubting my sanity. Coach did the same thing. I mean, why would he, after telling him this? The more I thought about it, the more I was unable to endure the feeling that my hatred for Coach had been meaningless.
綿流しの日、俺は祭りに行かず、あることをしていたんだ。ずっとだぞ。眠ったり、意識がなくなったりしたことはなかった。だから寝ぼけ気分でフラフラと、記憶になく祭りに出かけたなんてことはありえない。
それはおかしいですわね。ならどうやってお祭りで遊んだんですの？
だから俺は祭りには行ってないんだよ。
No, I can't let myself get emotional. If I get agitated now, that'd be like proving that there's something wrong with my head.
あ、ごめん。みんなが信じてくれないんで、つい。
圭一さんがそう言うなら信じてあげますわ。それで？
あの夜、高野さんに会ったんだ。それで見下されたと思って、俺は心の中で念じたんだ。お前なんか死んじまえって。
高野さんってどことなくそういう雰囲気がございますものね。その気持ちわからなくもありませんでしたよ。
高野さんが死んだの、昨日の話だ。どこかで焼け死んだらしい。
それ本当ですの？死んだんですの？
俺が死ねと願うと次の日には死んでるんだ。それから警察の大石ってやつも知ってるか？ムカつく太った刑事みたいなやつ。さっき警察が話してるのを聞いたんだが、どうもあいつ行方不明になってるらしい。実は昨日あいつにも死んじまえって念じてたんだ。
それ本当の話ですの？
嘘じゃない。俺だって信じたくないけど本当の話なんだ。高野さんも監督も大石も俺が死ねと念じたら本当に死んでしまったんだ。
For a little while, Satoko was at a loss. A long silence ensued.
それは怖い話ですわね。圭一さんにせめて嫌われないように気をつけませんと。
それだけじゃない。もっとおかしいこともあるんだ。それはお前のおじなんだ。
おじさまの話はやめてくださいましな。
昨日いたんだろ、お前の家に。
あの人の話はやめてくださいます。嫌なんですの。
ありえないんだ。あいつがいるわけがないんだ。
やめてって言ってますのよ。
あの男が綿流しの夜以降いるわけがないんだ。だって
あの男のことはもう嫌なんですの。
俺が殺したんだ、この手で。
Even the cicadas stopped crying. Her face was streaked with tears, and it stiffened even more as she looked at me in disbelief.
俺が綿流しの祭りの夜にお前の叔父を殺したんだ。だからお前の家に帰ってくるなんてことはありえないんだ。
But still, he went back. Last night, he found fault with the dinner you made him, yelled all sorts of things at you, and then basically boiled you in the bathtub. That couldn't possibly have happened.
だから俺はあの男を確かに殺したという証拠を確かめるために埋めた死体を昨日掘り返したんだ。だがそこには死体はなかった。こんなことがあり得ると思うか？確かに殺したのに死体がないんだ。そして何事もなかったかのように帰宅してお前の前にこんなことがあっていいはずないだろう。
Sadako's entire body stiffened. She was shrinking away like there was someone in front of her about to hurt her.
お前も俺のこと頭が変になったって思ってるんだろうな。無理もないさ。俺だって信じられない。
圭一さんはきっと空前呪った人が死んでしまったんで混乱してるだけに違いありませんわ。監督の自殺にショックを受けて気が動転してるだけなんですのよ。今日はもう学校を休んでお家で休んだ方がよろしいと思いますわ。私はもう平気ですから、どうかご自分の体を大事になさいまし。
Still trying to think of catching it besides herself. Satoko spoke like she understood me, but she also told me to go home. I could see the revulsion in her face, and knew that she didn't want to be around me anymore.
サトコをちゃんと診療所まで見送ったら俺も帰る。サトコだってまだ足元がフラフラじゃないか。途中で倒れたら大変だぞ。
私はもう本当に大丈夫なんですのよ。男の人にいつまでもこんな姿を晒していたくないんですのよ。
She wobbled up the shrine steps, looking like she was about to fall. I immediately ran up to her and helped her stay on her feet. But then Satoko promptly jumped away from me. That outright rejection hurt a lot. When she got to the top of the stairs, her breathing was ragged and she wasn't even looking at me. At this point, I was being ignored. It was more like she didn't want to have anything to do with me. It really was a feeling of rejection. That hurt my heart more than any blade could have. This was the path I chose for her sake. To be treated like this at the end of it all was just so saddening. Don't be naive, Kachimura. You never wanted to be repaid in the first place. You didn't do it so that Satoko would thank you. You did it so Satoko would be happy. And that was what led to this ending. Rika-chan's house was a disaster prevention storehouse used by the town's council. If you went past it a little further through the shrine grounds, you apparently reached the back of the assembly hall. Satoko was heading there, walking quickly, the gravel under her feet crunching as she went. Did she want to get there as soon as possible, or did she want to run away? I couldn't tell. And then I heard the vigorous sound of wings flapping. I turned around and saw a crow. I hadn't seen many crows since coming to Imazawa. I saw them a lot in my old town, though. On garbage day, they'd flock to trash collection points, peek through the bags with their beaks, and drag out the contents and have a feast. As I was remembering that, I saw a few crows flocking around this shrine's donation box, and I thought how terrible it was for someone to leave a garbage bag in a place like that. The cicadas quieted. Breathing stopped. Thoughts ceased. Even time came to a halt. I ran over to where the crows were flocking. Oh, fuck, what? I ran there in order to drive a horrible idea out of my mind. I definitely hadn't wanted this. There's no way I would ever wish for this, even by mistake. This was not... Oh my... What? When they noticed my vicious approach, the crows all flapped upwards, freeing them to the sky. When the crows' big black bodies flew away, they exposed the garbage bag. What had I seen there? The scream had escaped from my throat before I understood what I was looking at. What was this? Satoko came over as well, realizing that something had happened, and she looked over my shoulder, and then she screamed as well. This wasn't... The garbage bag was crimson, dyed in fresh blood. Enough of this stupid roundabout way of saying it! That's right, yes! It was... Rika-chan! Our friend, Satoko's best friend. Always easygoing, clever as a cat, but so cute you couldn't hate her. Our friend, Rika-chan, she was... Rika-chan was stark naked. She was face up, limbs sprawled. Her eyes were like glass, just staring up into the sky. And...
Rika! Rika!
What the fuck is happening? What was what the fuck? Satoko broke down crying on the spot, and yet she couldn't approach her friend's remains. The crows had gone through the garbage bag and dragged. Well, they dragged out an apple peel and spread it all over. No. Crows, they couldn't do this. On this spot, I started vomiting. This sour taste became a bitter one, so as I threw up over and over again. Rika-chan, She... Her stomach was cut wide open, vertically, completely open. Oh, what the fuck?
Rika!
Crows couldn't have done this. And from her open stomach, her own organs, her bowels were dragged out like children's toys swept all over the floor. That unbelievable sight induced oxygen deprivation in my brain. Color left my vision, a pounding headache, dizzy, and I wanted to vomit. It was like the nightmarish remains of a ceremonial killing. Someone, somewhere had killed Rika-chan, brought her here, laid her here with her limbs spread out, and then cut her open her stomach and dragged out her intestines. Red and pink viscera were sticking out of her gut, and her intestines were scattered in every direction like it had been for fun. The entire ground was covered in an ocean of red and black. A few of the crows had hopped around inside that ocean. They walked through the sea of blood, leaving bloody footprints, and those footprints, there were several still left on Rika-chan's body. The sinister prints made it seem even more like a bizarre ritual killing. They have wished for Takano-san, Coach, and Oshi to die, but I didn't remember ever wishing for Rika-chan's death.
そうさ、俺じゃない、俺じゃない、俺じゃない。
I stumbled backwards and stepped on a newspaper. A newspaper? It was like this. The newspaper was covering my hatchet. I kept it wrapped up and on my belt in order to carry Satoko. And that newspaper had fallen off. Sheesh, don't scare me like that. I bent down to pick it up, and then Satoko looked at me with such disbelief as I never seen in photos. Oh no. She was looking straight at me. At the hatchet on my belt.
落ち着け、サトコ。これは違うぞ。
Satoko, trembling madly, backed away.
俺じゃない。俺じゃないんだ。俺じゃ。
She didn't care at all what she was exposing herself for a towel. She just trembled and tried to step back from the demon in front of her.
サトコ、落ち着いてくれ。頼むから、冷静になってくれ。サト。
Screaming weakly, Satoko began to run unsteadily. Run away, that is.
待ってくれ、サトコ。違うんだ。違うんだ。
The way she ran away, it was so weak, so slow. So if I wanted to go after her, I could have caught up. But if I try to grab Satoko's shoulder or something right now, she might actually go crazy. So I had to follow her and try to clear this up.
高野さんを殺して、監督を殺して、大石さんも殺したんでございましょう。おじさまを殺そうとして、リカまで人殺し。
違う、俺じゃない。俺は殺してなんかいない。
何を言ってるんですの。あなたさっき自分で言ったじゃありませんの。死ねって、死んでしまえって。それでみんな死んでしまったんでしょ。
俺はその死ねって思っただけで、別に。
自分で何をしたか記憶に残っていないんでございましょう。そんな人の話なんか信用できるわけありませんわ。人を殺した時の記憶が欠落してるだけなんじゃありませんの。いや、記憶がないふりをしてるだけなんじゃありませんの。第一、そのナタは何なんですのよ。説明してごらんなさいな。
これは。
ほら圭一さんは殺人鬼じゃありませんの。 うしてですの？ちょっと意地悪だったけど楽しくて優しい、一度は本当のニーニーかもしれないとまで思ったのに、どうしてそんな風になってしまったんですの？
I might have been able to slowly answer each one of Satoko's questions at a time, but in this situation, explaining my incidents in such a short period of time was impossible. I mean, I didn't even know if I was really innocent anyway. At the very least, I killed Satoko's uncle. There was no body, but I killed him, without a doubt. At that point, I was far from innocent. I wish Takano-san and Coach Inoshi were dead. That curse of mine was granted. When I wished for Takano-san to die, I didn't think of it as anything more than a normal thing you say to someone you didn't like. But then she actually did die, and I realized that if I wanted people to die, they would. Hoping that it would happen again, I cursed Coach and Oshi to the same fate. So even ignoring Takano-san's death, Coach's and Oshi's were completely premeditated crimes. Was I a killer, just like Satoko said? Was I unable to distinguish between illusion and reality, and turned into a demon without remembering it, becoming the killer who carried out Osho-sama's curse? No, that couldn't be. It was impossible. God damn it! The very word impossible is impossible in Minazawa right now. How many freaking times have I said that word these past few days? Satoko had started crying again and was walking away steadily. At first it felt like she was still running, but now it was like she was walking away crying from someone bullying her.
どうしてこんなことになってしまったんですの？どうして
If there was an answer to that, then I wanted to know it too. Why had it turned out like this?
ニーニーがいなくなってずっと寂しかったけど、圭一さんが転校してきてくれて、またみんな明るくなって、楽しくなって、毎日が光ってたの。
Yeah, she was right. Those days were bright and beautiful. And yet, after that, Satoko and I shouted the exact same thing.
どうしてこんなことに。
The cicadas were sneering at the spectacle of our strange game of tag. Shut up, shut up, shut up! Eventually, I heard the murmuring of a stream. The forest parted and a suspension bridge appeared. Satoko was crossing dangerously, wobbling as though she might fall at any moment. And when I stepped onto the bridge, it swayed a lot, causing Satoko to stagger and fall on the spot.
大丈夫か、サトコ。
近寄らないで。この人殺し。
Satoko shouted, her hatred made very clear. It was sad. If words could cut, then the swarm flowing from my eyes would have been blood for sure.
どうしてこうなってしまったんですの？ケンイチさんのこと大好きだったのに。
I wanted to go up to her and give her a hand, but the distance between us was uncrossable. If I got any closer, Satoko would start shouting again, and say things that would hurt me deeply again. So I couldn't approach any closer than this.
サトコ、俺にもなんでこうなったかでもこれだけは言える。リカちゃんを殺したのは俺じゃないんだ。それだけは絶対に。
いい加減なこと言わないでほしいですわ。自分の記憶にも自信が持てない人が何を言ったってどう信じればいいって言うんですの？
I tied my hands into fists. This was mortifying. I wasn't crazy. Himizawa was crazy ever since I wandered into it, lost on that one night. This insane world where I was at the festival when I wasn't and the uncle I killed was alive. Where death would come just by wishing for it. It was this world's fault. Mion and Wena started acting strangely, like they were possessed by something too. And Coach wouldn't believe anything I had to say. And even Satoko, who I should have protected, was yelling at me like this. Was the price for killing a man supposed to be this high? Was I really going to be forced to stay in such a better world? I did the right thing! At least I wanted to! So then, why? I hated it. Every time I asked why the day Satoko and I enjoyed in peace went so long.
サトコ、信じてくれ。俺は人殺しじゃない。
では、そのナタは何なんですの？納得のいく説明はできまして。
このナタが怖いのか。じゃあ捨てるよ。それなら安心だろ。
Satoko didn't nod, but she seemed to be in agreement with that proposition. I comfortably took the hatchet out of my belt and dropped it over the side of the bridge into a stream below.
捨てたぞ。これで話を聞いてくれるな。
武器を捨てたぐらいで気を許すと思いまして。圭一さんほどの方なら私を素手で締め殺すなんて簡単でしょうに。
Like hell I would. Everyone is kill Satoko. You idiot.
じゃあどうしたらいい？両手を頭の上で組んだらいいか？
そうですわね。両手を頭の上で組んで後ろを向いてくださいます。
It was a cunning plan, much like the one she used during club activities. Putting my hands on my head and turning away would mean I couldn't attack Satoko very easily. I made a acoustic to her request since it would make her feel better.
これでいいか？俺の話を聞いてくれ。
Satoko stood up, then carefully approached me from behind. And then she actually came right up behind me. She was so close, and yet I was so sad that I wasn't allowed to turn around.
圭一さんが悪くないのはなんとなくうすうす分かっていましたわ。
え？
多分あなたは何か悪いものに乗り移られただけなんですの。さっきまでは圭一さんが殺人鬼なんだと思ってたけど、あなたの目を見ていたら。
The fucking eyes. I could hear that Satoko was still crying, but her voice was gentle just the same.
圭一さんが人殺しなんかするわけがない。圭一さんの体を何か悪いものが乗っ取って悪事に駆り立てただけ。
Was she speaking literally right now? Or was she trying to demolish me? I couldn't tell.
思えばひょっとするとあの人たちも圭一さんと同じものに乗り移られていたのかもしれない。あの時は殺されるとしか思わなかったからそこまでは考えが及ばなかったけど、今ならわかる。あれは乗り移った何か悪いものの仕業だった。
サトコ？何の話だ？
It was less like she was talking to me, and more like she was talking to herself, like she was confessing on my back.
分かってるんですの。私身に覚えがないわけじゃないんですのよ。
Satoko's voice started to become mixed with sobs. Her pained voice tore at my heart. But I didn't know what Satoko was talking about.
西宮殿の屋根によじ登ったことがありますの。何年も前のことですわ。
Once, when Satoko was playing hide and seek at the shrine ground, she climbed onto the roof of the storehouse for ritual implements, which everyone said not to go near and hid. Then Satoko saw that she could get in for a window meant for ventilation. For Satoko, the word curse was plenty scary, but she was more curious about what was inside the unknown storehouse. She removed the grating in the window, which was already hanging off, slid her small body into it, and climbed down inside. It was too dark to see much, but after descending, she realized just how high up she had been. Despite the darkness, she could see a few things around her thanks to the faint light coming in from the air window. To her disappointment, it was just a regular old storehouse. She tried to leave, but the door was locked up tight from the outside and was made to not open from within. She would have to go back out through the ventilation window she'd come in from. But the window was high in the wall, and there was no way she would be able to climb back up. Satoko desperately tried not to cry and whacked her brain, thinking of a way to get up there. There were a lot of birdcage-looking things hanging by chains from the ceiling. She took the hanging chains and strung them along the wall. If she climbed up the bundle of chains, she might be able to climb up to the ventilation window. There was nothing else she could do, so she had to try. And try she did. It was dark and creepy, and she didn't want to stay there forever. The more she thought about that, the more she panicked. She climbed the bundle of chains. Satoko could hear the clinks and clangs of everything creaking under her weight. And then, just as her hand reached the window, one of the metal fixtures she used to stick the chains on the wall flew off, and the chains all began to pull wildly and furiously every which way. Spurred on by the sounds behind her, she managed to get back onto the roof from the window. Because of the weight of the whirling bundle of chains, the other fixtures broke, and then one of the big bird cages hanging from the ceiling fell to the floor with a huge noise. Under it was an image of Oshiro-sama, his vessel, and the cage took off one of the arms and trapped some other implements beneath it. It didn't take very long for her to grow scared of what she'd done. The deafening noise could be heard from the rest of the shrine grounds. A few other children heard it and gathered around, and of course Rika was one of them. Then Rika's father, the shrine's priest with an angry look, ran over, and then, as for what happened next, it was painful to remember. The only one who knew where Rika's parents kept the key to the ritual storehouse was Rika, so he scolded her, saying that this happened because Rika pulled a plank and hid me in there. He was very angry and menacing. Just looking at him was enough to frighten anyone. He exposed Rika's back, took a strangely shaped ritual cane or something, and struck her with it several times. Jesus. Rika's words at the time, "It wasn't me, it wasn't me, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." That pitiful voice, I still can't get it out of my head. I should have said it was me. I should have said so, to save my best friend from that false accusation, without being afraid of Rika's father's terrible temper. Rika gritted her teeth and cried at the crime she didn't even remember doing. Ever since then, the world had been strange.
わかってるんですの、私には。これは、お社様のたたりだって。あの時、最後伝を怪我して、親友を見捨てた私への天罰だって。
お社様のたたり。
父も母も濁流に消えた。意地悪だったおばも死んだけど、誰よりも私を可愛がってくれたニーニーも私を捨てて家出してしまった。そして圭一さんが転校してきて、やっと楽しい毎日が戻ってきたと思ったのに、今度は圭一さんが取りつかれて、リカも殺されて。聞いたの私。お社様は本当にたたりをなすときは本人をすぐに殺さないんだって。親しい人から順に殺して、みんな殺してから最後に殺すんだって。だから圭一さんもたたりにやられて。きっと今度はレナさんやミオンさんがたたられてしまうんですわ。そして殺したり殺されたり。もういいや。
落ち着けよサトコ。たたりなんかない。誰もお前をいじめたりなんかしないって。
When I turned around, I was thrust away with an amazing force. Given my hands were awkwardly placed on my head, I couldn't take the fall and lost my balance, and I'd been pushed not into the bridge but to the side, towards the stream. No, this can't be happening. Ah! As one last miracle, I was allowed to grab the cord hanging from the bridge. For below me was the stream. We were pretty high up, and below were rocks of all sizes. If I fell, it clearly wouldn't be pretty. The entire bridge was tilting under my body weight. My frail little grip probably wouldn't last another minute before my fingers had to let go.
Satoko! Satoko!
I didn't understand myself what I meant by shouting her name then. Was I asking her to save me? Or was I asking her why she did this? Finally, everything came back into focus, and I saw Satoko, and I was surprised at what an odd expression she had. Oh no. It was the first time I'd seen it. No, it can't be. It was an expression of righteous anger, meant only for those who needed to die. As she screamed, she jerked the birds to and fro, and she didn't have to do that. I was going to fall anyway.
私はお前なんかには負けないんですのよ。タタリなんかに負けてたまるもんですか。お前になんか絶対に負けない。みんなを奪ったお前に絶対に負けたりなんかしない。
サトコ、これだけは聞いてくれ。
I don't know what my face looked like at the time, but it seemed like it was enough to clear Satoko's agitation.
俺のしたことは確かに褒められるものじゃない。いや、いけないことだったかもしれない。だけどお前に幸せになってほしくってしたことだったんだ。それだけは信じてくれ。
こいつ最後の最後でケイイチさんのふりを。
Satoko didn't seem to have any more desire to listen to what I had to say, and for that to happen at the very end like this was tragic.
お前に褒められたくてやったわけじゃなかった。お前に幸せになってさえもらえればよかった。俺たちはダメなんだ。お前が笑っていないとダメなんだ。だから俺が消えたら笑ってくれ。俺が死ぬことで新しい生活を迎えたならきっと笑ってくれ。それだけ約束してくれないか。
喋るな。ケイイチさんの口調で喋るな。落ちろ。落ちてしまえ。
And those were the last words Satoko ever said to me. Those sad, tragic, and altogether unrewarding words. What on earth was I? My desire to make Satoko happy ended up like this. Where did I first go wrong? And what was the mistake I made? When did I make it? Was I the crazy one? Or was it Himizawa? Even after all of this, I thought I wasn't crazy at all. It was this eerie world that was crazy. This world I accidentally wandered into that one night. Because that fun world where I never doubted all the crazy times we had as a club would go on forever. It couldn't possibly have transformed into such an abnormal world. That fun world would have never ended like this, with Satoko pushing me to my death. In the end, I was going to be swallowed up by this crazy world and disappear. No, I probably already disappeared. Yes, probably. And the night of Higurashi, I'm sure Then the world I really belonged to had vanished that night, and everyone was worried. It was laughable that it had taken this long to figure out I wasn't around anymore. Oshiro-sama's cursed on the 5th year, with Satoko's uncle dying and me disappearing. In the real world, Satoko had already been freed. Maybe my friends were all lamenting my disappearance, and everyone were trying to get back on their feet. And even though they were torn down to 4 people, the club would reopen, and they would have a good time without me, waiting for the day when I would come back. I'm sorry, everyone. I couldn't come back home. But this is what I wished for. It was my wish for Satoko's smile, and my duty as her Nini. At this point, there will be nobody left to torture you. Because Satoshi and I, it took 2 years, but we succeeded. That annoying, toothy smile of yours. We wanted to see it one more time. My pain wasn't gentle or merciful. It was a sharp pain, violent, powerful, and ruthless. What little compassion I had receded in the span of a moment. And now, I could die. I could say goodbye to this insane world. Farewell, crazed Himizawa. Thanks for giving me the psychological power to kill people whenever I wanted. If you'll still allow it, I'll wish for one last thing. The death of this very world, of this crazed Himizawa, so that nobody would ever again have to find themselves lost here again. Holy fucking shit. Oh my god. If there's another part to this, I need... What? There's another chapter. No fucking way. No fucking way. There's another chapter. What? I thought that was... What? Oh my... Okay. No, I need to talk about this. I need to talk about that fucking chapter. Also, there's no music, which is just, fantastic. Okay. So, what this chapter's about. In previous chapters, there was always a main girl, right? Chapter 1, Rena. Chapter 2, Mion. And we always saw them go crazy and insane and start killing everyone. In this chapter, it was reversed. Satoko has the same perspective as Chapter 1, Kechi. The exact same perspective, blaming all of this on the curse that Rena and Mion were possessed by a demon by Oshiro-sama. And what happened to first chapter, Kechi? Murdered both Rena and Mion. Because he saw them as crazed maniacs possessed by something. In this chapter, we took the part as the crazed one. From Satoko's perspective, we were the one that went insane, that went crazy. And because of that last chapter, or just overall this chapter, it puts a lot of things in perspective for Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. I think most especially for Chapter 2. Because now we can kind of understand what Rena and Mion were going through. Why they murdered people. Why they did it. Did Rena even murder anyone in the first chapter? I don't even think so. She was just acting weird. Because of the damn director. And hell, actually, what was also another bit of fucking foreshadowing? In every, recap type of, theorizing thing after each chapter, Chapter 1, Chapter 2, it was always Satoko who said she believed in the curse. She always thought it was just people being possessed by the demon. And also, it connects to the fucking story itself. So those fucking recap chapters, or, little segments, are really fucking important, actually. Which, that I would have never fucking expected. I really thought it was just an extra thing. But if it fucking connects to the goddamn main story, holy fucking shit, is that amazing. And it's just, why is Rika... It's just as it was stated at the beginning of this chapter. Is it a coincidence? Or a conspiracy? Or a curse? Did Kechi go insane? Think he murdered all these people? He didn't actually murder Satoko's uncle. Maybe he actually went and killed... Maybe in his own delusions, this Kechi killed Rika and killed Oshi and killed son, I can't remember her name, Akin, and all of them. Maybe he did. We can't rely on him as a reliable narrator. Or maybe it wasn't all just a delusion. Maybe Kechi really was the innocent one. Maybe he really did try to kill just Satoko's uncle. And all that happened. But why? Why would the director's organization or any other, like, maybe one of the three fucking families... And there's still more to this chapter. There's more to this. This isn't the last fucking chapter. We still have another episode in this, which is fucking insane. This has been, I think, this chapter, actually just the overall chapter, and also the chapter we just went through, is one of the best. The best one. I couldn't take my fucking eyes off this one. I really couldn't. This was fan-fucking-tastic writing. This is only chapter fucking 3. Chapter 3, people. Chapter fucking 3. And this is still the question arc. We still haven't gotten to the fucking answers yet. We're still having the questions. I'm so invested in this fucking story. It is amazing. And hell, I want more people to fucking read this. This is fantastic writing. This should be taught in fucking, like, English literature. There's just so many goddamn wares to this story that I could go through. I could make a 3 fucking hour analysis on this whole thing. No, I could just make a 3-hour analysis on the first 3 chapters of this game. It just has that so many goddamn wares to it that you could come at. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoy this type of content. If you did, hit that subscribe button. If you liked it, hit the like button. Want to tell me something, put that in the comments as well. And check out the Discord server I hang out in, or my Twitter. Check the description below. And yeah, this has been Voidlego, and I hope you guys enjoyed this as much as I do, because I fucking enjoyed this. See ya!